Hey, Glitch Reaper here again. And the thing is, I'm back with another vlog for many reasons. Some which kind of got a little compounded on me real fast. Well, not just me, but a lot of people. Some which are kind of good, some which are kind of I don't know. But anyhow, let's go for it here. I was going to initially use this as an announcement of just good news, but it turns out we have some mixed news, so it happens. Anyhow, one of the things I was going to discuss, okay, I think I'll just go bad news first. That's usually how I like news delivered. It's bad news, good news, that way you get cheered up at the end. I'll go that way. Okay, bad news first. Many of you have probably heard YouTube is being a total douche right about now. Like, it's redid its whole program for how it's doing monetization. I haven't done that yet, but I have been considering doing that in the future. And it turns out now the best way to have support if you're doing YouTube rather than, like if you're not like switching all the way over to Twitch like some people I know did, then it seems like the best thing to do is to have Patreon support. I also have not got that set up yet, and it will be a pretty good period of time before I do. But just saying that might show up in the future. So it could wind up being a thing. If I decide to go commercial that way. And it'll also depend on other circumstances, like if I have other things show up that takes out a lot of my time, then maybe that might not even happen, because I might just keep things casual. Which I'll always want to keep them somewhat casual. I mean, the whole point is I'm doing this because I like to. But you know what I'm saying. Like, I might not really do monetization at all if I feel that I can't really keep up, because their new policy seems to be a bit more specific about that. So people who are doing things casually or part-time are kind of a bit excluded. They have to have 1,000 subs, which I don't consider that big of a barrier, because I have heard good advice that it gets kind of exponential growth after a while if you just keep at it. So I'm not as concerned about that. It's the 4,000 hours of watch time in a year. That's the thing that I'm thinking of is kind of crazy. Now, admittedly, I probably get that already, but at the same time, it's something to always worry about, because my bro did a little calculation. It turns out that's about 45% of a full year in terms of the amount of time it is. That's actually kind of crazy when you think about that. 45% of a year, like well over like 100 some odd days, he said, and is just ridiculous in terms of calculation. And I'm going, okay. he just divided like 4,000 by 24, and he got this figure. Go ahead, use a calculator, see how much that turns out to be. It's kind of funny when you actually look at it. Now, another thing about this is it does bring up a few other points. I was actually thinking about the fact that a lot of people that sub on to like various YouTube channels, not just mine, but like period, may forget one nice little detail about whoever they're subscribing to. It's just the fact they may have done stuff already. I mean, yeah, just look through people's playlists that you've subscribed to and going, okay. I mean, you might want to review what they've done before. I mean, in my case, some of my earliest stuff, admittedly, I did not have the best equipment at the time. This is why I tend to praise Lightcam multiple times over. Not sponsored, but would not mind singing their praises periodically, no matter what. Because, admittedly, it really changed how I did things and made things so much better. I mean, seriously, would you really want things to line up in terms of circumstances where I could only do something like this once a month? Probably not. That's kind of like what it was before, when I had to have absolutely everything lined up to do something. So you could, just in terms of rate, it's really improved, because it's made things so much more convenient for me to set up a recording session. So yeah, I mean, one thing you can always do to support YouTubers that you like is to check out their playlists and see if there's anything you haven't watched from them yet, and just kind of review over. I mean, personally, I still think one of my best runs has been Solitary Craft Plus, in my first season of it. So whether or not I ever get to a second season, that is one thing that I really, really enjoyed. And when it comes down to it, you gotta do what you enjoy. and I considered that just one that I just had an absolute blast with. So, yeah. And then it can happen again. I can really, really feel a pack, or for that matter, do one completely custom. And I'm just going, yes, yes, yes. And I've kind of had that happen to me a few times afterwards. It's just that one's kind of a bit older now because it's been a while since I've did anything with it actively. So it's just one of those things to remind people of, is that YouTubers have earlier playlists of things they've done before, some which may be series that they've did like a lot of, but then have ended at some point. Like, I know Thaumcraft Plus with me, again, just my favorite example at this exact time, for myself anyhow, has been, I mean, I did over 50 episodes of it. That's a lot of episodes, especially since I got Lightcam, I've had the habit of making longer episodes. It just kind of lines up that way, and I am a kind of guy that goes, it takes as long as it takes. So if I do a shorter episode on something because it was faster than expected, well, whatever works. If I do a longer episode, well, whatever works. Again, it's just however long it takes. So it's just kind of how I handle things. But a lot of people try either over-limiting themselves as to what they're going for. So it's kind of weird that way. I'm thinking, well, if you can do a longer video, why not? Although admittedly there's a certain length that I consider kind of optimal, but it really depends on things. Well, getting a little off track there. Anyhow, besides that, on to various good news. That's just plain good news. No need to really worry about too many details. Okay, maybe some details, but you know what I mean. Anyhow, one of them is Thaumcraft. Yes, there is serious news in the Thaumic area these days. One of which, in case anybody was worried about it, because I've been tracking some of the news about it, but not all of it, Lost Thaumaturgy is not dead. It is in fact going through its retexture phase. So, Apingu will have that out at some point in the future because he is getting things retextured so that it's all original but still styled after Thaumcraft 2, which was his favorite version of Thaumcraft. And admittedly, I loved a lot of things about it too, so I see his point. A lot. Like, there's a lot of things I really wish they'd brought back in later versions. Well, I mean Asnor, just Asnor. Let's face it, Asnor is a one-man show. Sometimes you get that in modding. Of course, so's a Pengu, who's the other guy doing Thaumcrafty stuff, so hey, it happens. And I know a few modders who are one-man shows when it comes to it. So either way, point is, or just one-person shows, because I also kind of know Tam a bit, and she's a one-woman show, I think. I'm pretty sure Timazed is a female modder, so I'm pretty sure, like 98%. I mean, you can't fully judge someone's persona by their profile, but I'm very sure that Tam is very good at her job, and I do mean her. So, yeah. Anyhow, but yeah, Apingu is going to be doing Lost Thaumaturgy regardless, because he really liked that style and wants to just bring it all back. Meanwhile, Thaumcraft 6, yes, you heard me, Thaumcraft 6 is going into public beta soon. Asnor has been kind of going at it slowly for a while because he's had a lot of other things that happen to him. Darn lips. Meant to say him. Anyhow, well, admittedly that also goes with my point from before. People do have things that happen and take a lot of their time suddenly. Asnor included, and he is the one who is the main Thaumcraft guy. Like, he is not the imitation, he's the original. So remember that. Asnor is the original Thaumcraft guy. And he is going into public beta soon with Thaumcraft 6. It will be initially in 1.10.2, but it will go to other versions, as he said. He will be upporting it to 1.12.2 and possibly 1.13 if he's okay with the way that they've redone the code, because, as you may have heard, 1.13 is a massive overhaul of just how things are handled at base. So that could mean a lot more to modding than most people would expect. So you may expect some, or may need to expect some really big humps in terms of how long it takes modders to get past that. So don't expect your favorite mod, especially if it's particularly big, to update to 1.14 anytime soon after 1.13 hits. but they're trying to stabilize the code too in Mojang, so they're trying to make it where it's going to be like eventually a permanent version, and then that'll make modding a lot easier afterwards when they're just adding content rather than making changes to the base code. So again, that's a long-term plan at Mojang, in case anybody wondered. But with the fact that Thaumcraft 6 is going to be an open beta soon, I believe a lot of us are very excited about that. I'm very curious where things will go. I know that Asnor himself has already said that he's overhauled a lot of how things in terms of initial research goes. I'm curious how that system goes. I don't know if I'm going to be able to retroactively add it to a world I'm already using, or if I'll have to do something new, or if it'll be something terrain dependent. I have no idea how the beginning of it's going to go. And that's going to be very important as your startup, because Thaumcraft has always had some kind of well, not all the time. I think Thaumcraft 1 didn't have any real terrain creation, but ever since Thaumcraft 2 it has. And because of that, that means that there's always going to be some concern with either putting it retroactively into a world or needing to know if you need to start a new one. So because of that, I don't know how I'm going to handle that. I mean, it is good news, but it's also good news that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with. It's kind of just surprised me, like, oh, he is ready now. Okay. Now what do I do? Admittedly, some of the things I'm doing currently, like Magic and Mythos, the thing is, when you start out a world, you tend to stay close to the core for a while, so that means I have a lot of unexplored land. But at the same time, I don't know how he's going to handle Taint. So I'm not sure if that means it could retroactively be applied right on top of my starting village. That would be bad. So you can see my point about retroactively adding it to a world. What would happen if I do that, and the next thing I know, I'm overran with Taint? Because there have been features in Thaumcraft before where you can just run into tainted land as is without it ever being touched by you in the first place. Like, it could just be a really bad spot. So, yeah. So that's one part of news. Another which is I have, in fact... well, I should note that there is a petition for exactly what I discussed before at this time, and I will link that into the description. But the thing is, I have found and noted, etc., blah blah blah. Well, the good news is there's a petition for the camera that I'd like to be made, and it's being petitioned towards Fleur, which is well known for doing that kind of thing in general. Not necessarily a multispectral camera like that, but still a fantastic one. I mean, they've done some really good work with infrared, so I think it's right up their alley, so I agree that the petition is aimed in just the right spot. So, that said, I will be linking the petition below, and this is one of the few times I will actually probably ask directly for support. Normally, I don't really do that because I think of it kind of is a bit... I don't know. The best word I can think of is kind of a little dishonorable. I mean, I know almost every YouTuber does that with the whole like and subscribe request and all that, but at the same time, I just never really felt that vibe with me. Now, with this, on the other hand, it's a whole other story. I mean, this is something I've been waiting for a very long time, and finally the tech has caught up with it. The perfect camera. One that can do infrared, UV, and regular visible, and maybe even more, without being expensive, like, at all. Like, this is one of those things that was predicted to be quite cheap. And take over all the other methods of like, okay, now we do this easily. Before, why was this even a financial barrier before? I mean, people will be wondering what we ever did without it. So hence why I agree that it is time to finally say, please assist. Please sign this petition so that we can finally get this to happen. And as some people have asked before for me having a face cam, this will probably be the only thing I would ever accept there as. So anyone that would like to see me on Facecam at any time in the future, sign this petition, because that's how it's going to happen. It's like no debating it. That is how I'm going to have a Facecam. I don't care what connections I have to set up and fiddle with to get the technical stuff to work. I will, and how I need to reposition like a good portion of my room if it's oversized at the time for being a prototype. I don't care. One way or another, I'm getting this to work. I'm getting this to work as long as I have access. So basically, if you sign this particular petition, I will be able to have Facecam for anyone interested in seeing me with it. It's something that I usually don't think of too much myself because, for one thing, I really do think it's obstructive. It's one of those things I think does kind of detract a bit from a video normally, but some people like it, and maybe I won't use it for all videos. Maybe I will. I don't know. It depends on how easy it'll be to get everything to work out, and it depends on whether or not people consider it something extra special to do once in a while, or if they just really like it in everything. And it depends on how the camera works out for some of the other purposes that I'd really like it lined up for. So, all that together, things are still pretty variable on that one. But I am going to try to get it to work. And I will, and this is one of the few times I'm directly asking for support, is please sign this up so we can have a very, very great future when it comes to being able to see the world in another light. Something that I've always really liked the idea of, and now I finally have found pretty much my calling into making it happen, is saying, yeah, just sign this up, and sooner or later, it's gonna happen. It is totally gonna happen. I mean, right now things are at early stage with this, and I'm really hoping this can mushroom cloud into a fantastic new revolution. So I'm in agreement with this petition, very much, all the way through. Anyhow, because this is definite good news, I am going to definitely have a parrot party. I mean, it's what I always do at the end of these, but at the same time, I'm really feeling the parrot party. So, parrot party. This is Glitch Reaper. And, rock thing. Sorry, parrots, come back to me, please, parrots. Parrots, do I need to walk? Okay. Oh, I hit the wrong button and my parrot flew off. But it... that was weird. Wait. Okay, I got parrots. Okay, so, this is Glitch Reaper. I'll be logging off for now. Hope to hear from y'all later. So, bye for now, and join the parrot party and sign the petition, please. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye for now.